Welcome everyone to another deep dive. We're here to, really dig into some fascinating material and
Yeah.
pull out the key ideas for you.
That's the goal. Less overwhelm, more understanding.
Exactly. And today, we're looking at something pretty special. Session 99 of the Law of One. We're aiming for a detailed, insightful, and definitely positive exploration.
It's a great session. Lots of interesting Q&A with Raw. We'll be going through it carefully, exchange by exchange.
Perfect. So let's start where the session starts with the first question, which is about the instrument's condition. How is Carla doing?
Right. So Raw starts by saying the physical deficit, it continues. But there's a potential bright spot it might lessen because certain allergenic foods could be removed soon.
Ah, interesting. Specific food.
Yeah, they mention foodstuffs to which the instrument has significant allergy. Very precise. They also touch on energy levels, vital energy, down a bit from last time, but still strong overall.
Okay.
But the mental and emotional energy, that complex was apparently trending towards weakening.
Hmm. So right away you see that link, don't you? Physical, vital, mental, emotion, it's all connected.
Absolutely. It really sets the stage for understanding how imbalances can ripple through the whole system. It's a key theme.
It totally
Okay.
is. So that naturally makes you wonder, what were those specific allergenic foodstuffs Ra mentioned?
Good question, and Raw answers it directly. Buttermilk.
Buttermilk, really?
Yeah, but
Oh,
here's the nuance, the really interesting part. Raw adds that the buttermilk had actually been used appropriately before in healing work, specifically for the throat and chest areas.
wow. Okay, so something helpful in one way can be harmful in another.
Exactly. It just highlights how important individual needs and context are. You know, what works for healing one thing might trigger an allergy somewhere else. It's about balance.
That's a really valuable point.
Yeah.
Okay, next, the instrument herself, Carla, asked about wearing a small gold cross during the sessions. She was worried it might cause distortion.
Right, and this leads to a fascinating answer about subtle energies. Ra generally advises against metal during contact. But in this specific case, they actually recommended wearing the gold cross.
An exception, why?
Because of that weakening mental emotional complex we just talked about, Ra linked it to empathic distortions, and for Carla, the cross acted as a, quote, much needed strengthener.
A personal symbol having real energetic effect.
Precisely. And they even added a detail about the chain if she strengthened it. The new links, which symbolized eternity for her, should be of equal or higher purity gold.
That's incredible detail. It really speaks to the power of symbols and personal belief in shoring up our mental and emotional state, especially when dealing with sensitivity.
Definitely. It's very tailored advice.
So moving on slightly, the next question was about a magical working someone had directed at Carla's throat area. This was apparently from a fifth density negative being. They asked if anything more needed to be done about it.
And Ra's answer? Just one word, no.
That's it? Just no.
Just no. Very direct, very concise. It suggests, the situation was handled, resolved, or contained. Nothing further required.
Okay. Clears that up quickly then. Now, we get to a more detailed question from Jim, the scribe. He'd been going through a rough patch for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, he described feeling anger, frustration, even pain at the Indigo Ray Center, and just feeling really drained energetically. He wanted Ra's insight on the cause and what to do.
And what did Ross say? This sounds like something many people could relate to.
It's a really profound exchange. Ra starts with this core idea. The source is the limit of the viewpoint. Basically, how we see things shapes our experience of imbalance.
Our perspective limits or defines the problem. Makes sense.
Exactly. Then for Jim specifically, Ra suggested 3 things. First, solitary, strenuous physical activity. Daily, if possible.
Strenuous activity.
And interestingly, they added that if the activity was chosen with the intent of searing group harmony, it would be particularly effective or efficacious.
Ah, intention matters even in exercise.
It seems so.
Right.
Second, right after that activity, or as close as possible, solitary contemplation.
Activity, then quiet reflection.
Uh-huh. And third, really commit to balancing and silent meditations. Enthusiastically pursue them, Ra said. Crucial.
That's quite a regimen. Did Ra explain why this would help Jim specifically?
Yes, and this is key. Ra pointed out that Jim's great forte, his core strength, is power.
Power. Not in a negative way, I assume?
No, not like domination. I think of it as a strong energetic potential or drive. Ra explains that power, like love or wisdom, needs to be used, constantly engaged. It needs an outlet.
like energy needing to flow.
Precisely. It can be constructive, strenuous activity, or if
Yeah.
it's blocked or held back, it can become, well, destructive or manifest as frustration, anger, that stored energy Jim was feeling.
So the issue was an excess of stored energy.
Yeah, a distortion in that direction.
Yeah.
It really underlines how important self-knowledge is, knowing your strengths, your forte, and consciously using that energy for learning and service. Stagnant energy causes problems.
That's a powerful insight. Okay, let's shift gears. The next topic was about tarot cards. They introduced a new deck called Royal Road.
Right. The question was how this new deck compared to the CC Zane deck they had been using. Was Royal Road closer to Ra's original concept? And could they mix the decks?
What was Rai's take on that?
Ra emphasized the principle of constancy for efficient teaching and learning. Stick to one system.
Consistency helps.
Exactly. They said either the Fathman set, which they seemed to imply was closer to the original idea, or the current Royal Road set would work. But interestingly, Ra noted the Royal Road deck actually had some subtleties which enriched the questioning, even if it wasn't the first intended one.
So the current one was actually good, maybe even better in some ways.
Potentially,
Yeah.
for their specific querying, yes. The main advice was pick one set of distorted images because all physical representations are distortions and stick with it for asking questions. And the Royal Road ones were good.
Okay, practical advice, which then led to another practical issue. Copyright laws were apparently making it hard to keep using the original cards.
Yes, that came up. And following that, they asked about specific symbolism in the Royal Road deck, card 5, the wings above the significator of the mind. The guess was that the wings meant protection.
Oh, is that right?
Ra said it was not incorrect, but rather less than correct. A classic Ra nuance.
Oh. Okay, so what was the more correct meaning?
It's deeper. Ra explained the significator the mind has a covenant with the spirit, a deep bond. This connection manifests through the adept's thoughts and actions.
A covenant, like a promise or agreement.
Exactly. So the protection is really part of the inherent promise within that spiritual covenant. The wings symbolize the spirit, which is like outside the cage of the everyday mind.
Right.
And those wings are actively working to draw the caged mind onward towards liberation and higher understanding.
Wow, that's much more dynamic than just passive protection. It's about aspiration being drawn forward.
Beautifully put. It reframes it completely.
It really does. Okay, then they dove deep into card 6, transformation of the mind. The questioner offered a whole bunch of interpretations.
Yes, a very detailed breakdown, the crossed arms on the male figure, the two females representing paths, the serpent, clothes, a creature with an arrow. Lots of stuff.
And Ra addressed these point by point.
Seriatim, yes. For the crossed arms, Ra actually turns it back, asking the student and us, really, what do you make of the crossing? What see you in this tangle? Hinting there's more to ponder there.
Interesting. Not giving a simple answer.
Right. For the two females, Ra acknowledges the shallow correctness of linking left path to physical and right to mental. But they push for deeper thought on the unconscious mind relationship. These images, Ra says, haunt rather than explicate. They evoke, they don't just define.
They work on a symbolic level.
Precisely. Then there was that powerful analogy about how we approach the mind's resources.
Oh, right. Comparing it to a prostituted entity versus a maiden to be courted.
Yes, it's such a striking contrast. Exploiting the deep mind for quick gain versus respectfully, patiently engaging with it and with other people, by extension, to gain real virtue and insight.
That really lands.
Yeah.
And what about the figure with the arrow pointing left?
Ra clarifies that arrow isn't destructive. It's actually protective for those on the left hand or service to self path.
Protective. How so?
It shields them in proportion to their negative transformation from the direct reflections they might otherwise encounter from other selves. It helps maintain their separation. The right-hand path seeker, in contrast, finds many mirrors for reflection in others, which aids their growth and service to others.
Wow. Okay, so even the symbolism associated with the negative path has this internal logic and, in a way, protection built in. Fascinating
It
balance.
really shows the complexity and impartiality of the system.
Definitely. So nearing the end of the session, the questioner brought up something from a previous session, the tape recorder running for about 45 minutes being a signal to wrap things up. Was that still a good guideline?
Ra's answer showed a real evolution in their understanding. They said the decision was ultimately Dawn's, the questioners, because Carla, the instrument, had always stayed open. But, Rat added, they had come to appreciate the instrument's fragility more. They admitted they might have initially overestimated her ability to bounce back quickly.
So they were learning too, in a sense.
It seems that way, so they suggested that Yes, ending the session soon after that 45-minute sound would be appropriate and could actually help extend Carla's ability to make contact over the long term.
That shows real care and consideration for the instrument's well-being.
Absolutely. A very respectful interaction.
Okay, a penultimate question. This one went big picture back to the Logos, the creator of our galaxy. Did the Logos plan for mating processes, maybe involving DNA imprinting for monogamy, like in some animals? And did that carry into third density, into us?
Ra confirmed, yes, the Logos did design instinctual monogamous mating patterns in some second-density animals, the creatures we evolved from.
So there's a basis for it in our biology.
There's a carryover, yes.
Hmm.
But, and this is the crucial part, Ra emphasized that third-density free will is much stronger than that leftover DNA programming.
Free will overrides the instinct.
Largely, yes. So while monogamy might be hinted at as an efficient path for using Catalyst, Ra mentions signpost in the deep mind for the alert adept and the Logos bias towards kindness. It's not a requirement or a conscious imperative for many people because free will is paramount.
Choice remains central. Got it. And finally, the last question of Section 99, just asking if there was anything else the group could do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact.
A very considerate closing question. Ra acknowledged the group seemed a bit uncomfortable then and pointed back to things they'd already suggested, like the continued helpfulness of swirling waters, likely referring to baths or water therapy.
Practical comfort measures.
Yes, and they affirmed the group was doing a good job with the setup, the appurtenances. But then Ra added this beautiful, evocative phrase,
What was that?
encouraging the conscious strengthening of those invisible ribbons which fly from the wrists of those who go forward to seek what you may call the grail.
Wow. Invisible ribbons connecting seekers.
Yeah, it speaks to that energetic connection, the shared intention and support within the group on their spiritual quest. It's lovely imagery.
It really is. And then came the final farewell from Ra.
Indeed. A very loving sign-off, encouraging them to find and fly their true colors, urging mutual support in love, praise, and thanksgiving, and leaving them, as always, in the love and the light of the one infinite creator, Adonai.
What a session. Just packed with, well, everything. From dietary details and subtle energies to deep dives into tarot symbolism, personal power, free will, and the nature of spiritual seeking.
It really covers a lot of ground, doesn't it? The way seemingly small things like the buttermilk or the cross open up these larger principles is fascinating.
Absolutely. I keep thinking about that nuanced things not being simply good or bad, but dependent on context in the individual.
Hmm.
And the tarot card interpretations, especially card 5 and 6,
Mm.
offer so much to reflect on beyond just simple keywords.
And that whole discussion about Jim's energy and power, the need to actively channel our core strengths, that feels incredibly relevant for anyone trying to understand themselves better.
It all just ties together, showing how interconnected everything is. Our bodies, minds, emotions, our symbols, our choices, our connection to spirit.
It's a rich tapestry.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening to ponder. What about that idea of your own covenant with the spirit? What's the guiding promise or connection that informs your path?
Yeah, and how are you engaging with your own inner world? Are you treating it like something to be mined quickly, or are you courting those deeper resources with patience and respect?
Great questions to sit with. Thank you so much for unpacking Session 99 with us today. It's been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure entirely. It's wonderful material.
To everyone listening, thanks for joining this deep dive. Until next time, may you go forth rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one glorious infinite creator, Adonai.